I think we are going to have some. Okay. So you can see my screen. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, right. So let us start. So the Sri Prabhupada ki jai. Let us do a Mangalacharan. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Nananjanashalakaya Chakshumitameena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manabhishtam Sthapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vittam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakana Vittam Sham He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dino Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Takta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpaturabhyascha Kripa Sindhaiva cha Patitam Nam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Shri Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namini Vaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatesha Tarini Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So let us start. So what we were doing in the last chapter, three things we were looking at: the appearance and the disappearance of the Lord, how transcendental it is, appearance and thing, birth and the appearance. There's a distinction between the birth, appearance of the Lord and the conditioned souls in this world. And whereas the Lord appears in his transcendental form, and he never forgets and he remembers everything. Aham Vedam Shalom. And even if it is great and liberated, highly qualified Arjuna, when he takes birth, he doesn't remember anything, is the past. So that is the distinction between the conditioned soul and the Supreme Lord. And we also saw that how understanding this transcendental nature of the Lord's appearance and activities, they will not take birth again in this spiritual, in this material world. And also we looked at the importance of accepting a spiritual master. And we saw in the recommends that in 4.34. So now we are come to chapter 5. Okay, there were certain verses which we didn't look there, but we are going to do that in this. So what we are doing now is like, see this, the dialogue between the conversation between the Lord and Arjuna is a conversation. So it's a continuous thing. You don't put a marking, this belongs to this chapter and this belongs to this. No, this is a continuous dialogue, right? So there'll always be a link from one chapter to the other because it's a continuous logically explanation which is going on. Okay. So here in this chapter, what we're going to look at, mostly we'll be looking at from the point of view of yoga ladder. How the chapters from the beginning, from chapters 3, 4, 5, 6, and how they are going, what is the progression. Okay. So actually Prabhupada writes in the purport of 3 point, he says, in the previous chapter, that was in chapter 2, that time he gave the whole thing, justification for all the arguments which Arjuna had given. So, and there he said, there he had discussed many different parts were explained. And this was all presented unsystematically. So a more organized outline of the path would be necessary for action and understanding. So in other words, by his questions, by Arjuna's questions, what is happening is he is clearing the path of Krishna consciousness for the students who seriously want to understand the mystery of Bhagavad Gita. So if you want to understand the thing, that's how the concepts are being put up, and that's how the questions by Arjuna is leading to that. Okay. With this, what we are going to see is the progression in the chapters 3, 4, 5, 6. So in chapter 3, the Lord explained in detail about the Karma Kanda section. How Karma Kanda, uh, part of the Vedas, he has given us the Vedic injunctions, the regulations by following which one can purify his karma, sinful reactions, purify his mind, purify thing, and slowly, gradually rise to the level of platform of karma yoga. And in chapter 4, he gave us to the jnana, how the karma yogis are their activities, and how, and he gave us the transcendent knowledge about his birth and thing, appearance, and how the importance of the spiritual master. Then in chapter 5, he is now talking about more on karma sannyas, the jnana yoga. Okay. And then in chapter 5 is on dhyana yoga, ashtanga yoga, and finally we come to bhakti yoga. So there is a ladder, like, from karma kanda, they rise to the level of karma yoga. Then from karma yoga, you need knowledge, transcendent knowledge to understand, come to jnana yoga. Then finally come to dhyana yoga, then to yoga. So there is a progression. This is how the dialogue, the logic which is the Lord has been explaining. So I just want to do one for you all to recap what we were doing thing. I'll just break out rooms. I'll do that so that we'll just do it. Is you all have done many of these verses. You're all very familiar and very nicely knowing things. So let me. How do I do that? Just to give me a minute. When these verses are all familiar, breakout rooms. How many of you all are there now? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
How many participants we have now? 13.
13, yes.
If I make it 5, there'll be two people. It doesn't matter. I make it 5. What you have to do is just, I'll let you know. So you just go through the verses 10 to 16. And one group one will look at verse 3.10. Group 2 will look at 3.11. Group 3, 3.12. 4 on 13, 14, and 15. And what you all have to do is just look at the phrases and the Sanskrit words, which demonstrate how one gradually becomes purified by performing Vedic yajnas. Okay, just do that exercise. I think it has come to you all. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, we didn't get it.
Okay, I'll just.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Mataji is not there in the room, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, we two should discuss, I think, we three. Which is our room, Mataji?
Earlier it came to me as a room 4, but I was just making a note of what the exercise was. So it got disconnected.
Okay. I think there was shlokas like 13 to 14, I think, Mataji.
Group 4 would be, one second, Mataji.
You see, Mataji, once.
13 and 14, yes.
What was the question, Mataji? Do you remember? I joined a bit
The
late.
question was Sanskrit words we need to refer, phrases from the verses,
Hmm.
and analogies from the purports.
For
And
what, Mataji?
I think this is an exercise, I guess. Chapter 3. One second, let me just open the database.
Yes, Mataji, you open, Mataji. If you would like, you could share,
So
Mataji.
open the database from your end, and you refer chapter. One second. You refer the shloka 14. I'll refer the shloka 13.
Okay, Mataji. Fine.
That way we can do it.
Nice, Mataji.
Exercise अभी दे दिए. Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. In this 14th verse, there are
You
words
were
like
reading 14th or 13th?
14 Mataji. You told 13. You'll read, right?
Oh, I read 13. 14
I
also. Okay, I'll read for 13. 1 second. You can just prepare for that. It's better we both read both things so that we will have that understanding by the time. Are we in the room or are we in the on the home page? I am not pretty sure, Mataji.
I also Mataji, because it did not shows anything for me also. It's fine, Mataji. Till how much time we are, we'll do it.
Yeah, yes. Okay.
In 13, okay, Mataji, 14 you had read, right? Even I had read it. You once you can tell out what did you read it, then we'll go to 13 again.
To you, you want me to explain? The 14
Yes,
explains us about the sacrifices we need to do to get the food. Like the living entities depends on the food. So for that food, the cultivation of the food, they require the rains. So rains would be get only when we do the proper yagnas. So the ultimate yagna purusha is Supreme Lord, and all his sacrifices which we would be doing, he is the enjoyer, master, and the demigods who serves him as a different limbs of the body as a whole. So when we because they works as under an administrator under the Lord, so when we satisfy them directly, they would be supplying, they would be pleased and they supply air, light, water, which is sufficient to produce the food grains. And even Prabhupada has given an example of like how the devotees will be offering the prasadam to the Lord, offering the food to the Lord and accepting as in prasadam, which will wash away all the sins they have accumulated from so many lifetimes. And the analogy was Prabhupada has given here in this, that how and where there is an epidemic disease, antiseptic vaccine has been given to protect a person. So same, the food offered to the Lord will be automatically act as in the material infection what we have. It works as an antiseptic. So
Yes,
those
Mataji.
who offer the food to the Lord, they would be all the sins which would be they have accumulated will be washed off, and even animals will eat the fruits and vegetables. So even to the human beings have to, if they are even having the meat, then also they have to depend on the agriculture. For
Yes,
the
Mataji.
Kali Yuga, it is the Lord Chaitanya has recommended the yagna which we need to perform is the Sankirtana yagna,
Yes, Mataji.
which will be at least save us from the scarcity of the food supply. This is about this. We'll
Yes,
read
Mataji.
the 13th
13.
one. Yeah, 13th one we'll read.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So what did we see in 3.10? Hare Krishna, one of you can talk. What was the verses there which says how to purify your purification? Sanskrit verses. So there, the Lord says that you can, he has given this creation, beginning, he has sent forth the Vedas, be thou happy by this yajna, because his performance will bestow upon you all desirable things, isn't it? So there, and in the purport, Prabhupada gives the references, saying from Vedas how the Supreme Lord is the Prajapati of the all living entities. And by doing Sankirtana Yajna, that is for the Kali Yuga, the age of Kali Yuga, you can get recommended by the Vedic scriptures. Okay, and it was introduced by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for deliverance of all men in this age. So we got these verses were given. Then it continues to say in 3.11, Hare Krishna, second group 2.
Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji. So you can, there are certain points which Prabhu Krishna says.
Hare Krishna
Go
Mataji.
ahead. Yes,
The
Prabhu.
group 2 Mataji.
Hmm.
In this Mataji, to purify, in this basically in the purport and the shloka it is told that the supply of the demigods. First I recite the shloka Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hmm.
देवान् भाव्य यतानेन ते देवा भाव्यवन्तवः परस्परं भावयन्तः श्रेयापरं वाप्स्यत. Translation: the demigods, being pleased by sacrifices, will also please you, and thus by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. In this Mataji, in the purport, it is said that the supply of like air, light, water, and all the other products, natural products we need, are given by the demigods, who are basically the parts of the, who are basically the assistants or different parts of the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by and the pleasure and displeasure basically depend on the yagnas performed by the human beings, and all these yagnas are ultimately gone to the Lord Vishnu, as mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita shloka, Bhoktaram Yagna Tapasham, meaning that he is the chief of all the yagnas, and he is the chief purpose, and he is the Yagnapati, and he is the chief purpose of all yagnas. And by that, we can also see the analogy in this Mataji, that all the foodstuff, that tables that we have, Mataji, once we offer to the Vishnu, once we order to the Krishna, then it becomes sanctified, and by thus our existence become purified or becomes sanctified, and thus we clear the path of the liberation, Mataji, and all of that will lead to the Krishna consciousness. This is what we understood, Mataji. Can you
So,
please also help?
so there, Krishna talks about the cooperation between the demigods and the living entities, how they're performing yajnas by purification, and the verses also is given. Then group 3, who was there?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Mataji,
Yes.
go ahead.
By performing the yajnas, different types of yajnas, the demigods get satisfied, but according to different qualities. Like the meat eaters, they carry out they worship God Kali, and they perform yajnas by sacrificing the animals, and also those for those who are in mode of goodness, the worship of worship of Vishnu is recommended. So for an ordinary man, pancha yajna, mahayajna is necessary. And as per yajnas, according to Lord, everything we have gone, the God has supplied us in this so human society with sunlight, moonlight, rainfall, and the necessities which we are unable to produce ourselves. And so yajna is more important in this case, which is our aim of life is to attend the performance of yajna. And to get the liberation from this, we have to do yajna, and to go into the leave the material bondage and go into the bhakti of Krishna consciousness. And also I would like to say about the Lord Chaitanya here has said that about the Sankirtana yajna, where it can be performed, by which we can attain the principles of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So here this says we have to perform yajnas and offer our thanks to the demigods. We have to offer them because we are enjoying the facilities which are given by them, and we have to offer our thanks. Like in any government, we have to pay the tax, for whatever facilities we are given. The tax for the main highways, then tax for the water, and many facilities which the government gives, we have to pay tax. Same way, when all these facilities are given by the demigods, we have to pay. We have to perform yajna and ours, unless they are satisfied by our performance, they will give the necessities of life. So nothing is being, everything is given by them, and they are the one administrators in this. So Karma Kanda section of the Vedas is like that we perform yajna because we have to follow. If you want to fulfill your desires in this life, you have to follow the regulative principles by the Vedic injunctions. And for that, we have to acknowledge the presence of the demigods who are taking care of this material world, and we have to. And for Kali Yuga, Sankirtana Yajna has been right. And in 13 and 14,
Hare Krishna Mataji. In verse 13, Lord says that the food which is first offered to the Lord, that should be eaten. If we are just only eating for the personal sense enjoyment, then it's very much like a sin that we are eating. So first we should, after sacrifice, performing the sacrifice, we should offer the food to the Lord and then eat the remnant of the food as a prasadam. So that's in text 13, Mataji.
yes, Prabhuji. And 14 is to Annad.
Yeah. So here in text 14, it's the Lord is talking about how the rain is how the different type of grains are produced from the rains, and the rains are produced by the performance of the yajnas, and yajna is the performing our duties. So
Yes,
that's a cycle how the things are happening.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Then in 15, the last.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Mataji, so I thought the 16th was the last, so I have gone through the 16th actually.
Okay, Prabhuji. Yeah. So the 15 is regulated activities are prescribed in Vedas, and Vedas are directly manifested from Supreme Personality of God. Consequently, all pervading transcendence is eternally situated in acts of sacrifice. So these are all working directions given by the Lord, and it is all transcendental. So finally, if you work, Vedic directions are made that one can satisfy their desires and then return to Godhead, having finished this so-called enjoyment. It's a chance for the conditioned souls to attain liberation. So this is a gradual process. It's not like, it's a gradual process, the Karma Kanda to Karma. Yes, Prabhuji, you can talk about 16.
Yes, Mataji. The verse is Evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayatah yaha aghayurindriyaramo mogham partha sajivati. So it says that Evam pravartatam chakram, the Vedas has established certain cycles of yajnas, nanuvartayatah yaha. In this life, all those who are not following those cycles of yajnas, aghayur indriya aramo, so they are actually living a sinful life of satisfying their own senses. Mogham partha sajivati. Their life is in vain. They are living an useless life. The verse says
Human life is wasted. Yeah.
wasted. So in this purport, Prabhupada says that the Vedas has given certain philosophy of performing certain yajnas, but the first line of the purport says that the Mammonist philosophy of work very hard and enjoy sense gratification is condemned herein. So basically, the mentality of working hard for satisfying our own grievances for our senses. So this is condemned in this verse. This is what Prabhupada is saying, and he says that the purpose of human life is to self-realization, which can be done through karma yoga, jnana yoga, and bhakti yoga. But those who are already self-realized. They have transcended this. They don't need to go through these cycles. Number one. Number two, those who are actually living a very sinful life, they need to go through the sacrifices. Okay,
Yes.
but Prabhupada says that those who are engaged in Krishna consciousness, the ultimate goal of this process is to attain Krishna consciousness. If one is not attaining Krishna consciousness, then there is no point of following the cycles, Vedic cycles. So
Right.
ultimately, if we can attain Krishna consciousness by employing our senses in Bhakti Yoga, then the ultimate goal is achieved, and we don't have to go through the yajna system
Yes.
at all. That's
Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji. So that what is meant is so from Karma Kanda, this is the Karma Kanda, this process which he has given is a gradual process. So Prabhupada says that performance, I mean, I'm just repeating to just a conclusion, summary. Performance of yagnas, once eatables become sanctified. By eating sanctified foodstuffs, your existence becomes purified. By purification of existence, what happens? Your finite issues in memory become sanctified, and memory is sanctified. One can think of path of liberation. Otherwise, you'll never come. Otherwise, you're only involved in your sense gratification, right? So this is required. This is the process which has been given in a gradual process as a karma kanda. And we have to understand that Lord Vishnu is the Prajapati. He is worshipped in all the yagnas as a chief benefit. That he established in the purport also. And then as Prabhuji said, evam pravritam chakram nanuvattanteya agayor indriya. So if you are involved in the sense gratification, then it's a waste of human life. So if you are engrossed in this, so you have to perform yajna, then show our thanks to the demigods who are given all the facilities, take the remnants, and then you will be purified. So mogam patas, otherwise you'll get engrossed in this. So that is being condemned. And why human life is important? Because that's the only one which you can lead Krishna, do the sacrifices, do the karma kind of thing, regulations as per the Vedic injunctions, and gradually rise to the karma yoga platform. So otherwise you will be only wasting the human life which you have got. Okay. So tasmat sarva gatam brahma nityam yagna pratisha. All pervading transcendence is eternally situated in the acts of sacrifice. Okay. And it should not be done in a thing. So this is a cycle. And people who are looking at meat-eating people, they are eating what? They are eating the animals and all that. And these animals also require grains and plants for their sustenance. So actually, indirectly, meat-eating people are also depending on the grains. So this is a cycle. For our living on, we are living on food grains. Grains, vegetables, they're actually our food. And then Prabhupada writes, now I am living and getting energy by eating grains and vegetables. And how should my energy be utilized? It should be utilized for the purpose from where I am getting the energy. So I am getting energy from the Supreme Lord by supply of this foodstuff. Therefore, my energy should be utilized for the service of the Supreme. This was what Prabhupada writes in the lecture at Los Angeles, that we get this energy by the facility which is given to us, right? By the food and the thing we get. So we should use this energy which we have got from the Lord by supply of his foodstuff for the service of the Supreme Lord. So for being in Krishna. And this verse is very important. Annad Bhavanti Bhutani. That is, all are depending on the grains. And for the grains, we need rains. Prajanyad Anna Sambhavaha. And to get the rains, we should do Yagna Bhavati Prajanya. Yagna, then what happens? Then Yagna Karma Samadbhavat. So this is the cycle which we are involved, and everything is thing. So what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started this Sankirtana movement, because that is the yagna for Kali Yuga, that is worshipping Krishna and chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So this is what we saw by Karma Kanda. So what happens by Karma Kanda? So we come to the platform of Karma Yoga. That is a gradual process. If you go by these injunctions and this thing, this is a gradual elevation to the Karma Yoga. And Karma Yoga, activities of Karma Yoga and everything has been discussed in chapter 44 and these verses 4.9, 19 to 24, and also in this. That's why I've taken up this. So if you look at that verse in 5.a thing, you can see Naiva Kinchit Karomiti Yukto Maneta Tattvavid Paschyan Sravan Svashan Jigram Asninan Gachan Swapan Swan Pralapan Vishranjan Granan Unmishan Nimishan Api Indriyani Indrastesu Vattanta Ididari. What does the Lord say here? A person in divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening or closing eyes, is always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects, and that is aloof from them. So this is something. What is here? There are two kinds of transcendental: the impersonalist and personalist. The personalities are the Krishna consciousness, which Prabhupada writes in the purport. But that is his understanding of these verses. But mostly people get misguided when they see this. What happens? They have this impersonalist who say Aham Brahmasmi. That is, we are God, you are God, and they don't want to acknowledge the personal form of the Lord. They want to get, once they liberate, they want to merge into the Brahma Jyoti of the Lord, right? That's the impersonalist. So what they think about how they view this is that they said you have to be aloof from them. That means they know that they are their soul and not their body. So that knowledge they know, and they want to be fixed in that knowledge, saying we are the soul and are not the body. So they don't want to get involved with any of the material activities. They will do it as minimum as possible. So they'll feel that anything with they use with the material activities they do, they'll feel they're getting into Maya. So they'll get caught by the Maya. And most importantly, the tongue is something which is leads them into illusion. So they will try to control their senses. So that is the perception of the impersonalist. So the Mayavadis. So because they say, no, you have to be aloof from them and divine consciousness. And what is the consciousness? That we are the spirit soul and not the body. So what happens when this thinking and the Brahma, the way they think, the common people will understand when they look at these transcendentalists, when they look at these Mayavadis, they think, oh, spiritual life means you don't do any material activities. Spiritual life means you just do meditate, do dhyana, and you be lazy. I mean, you're not involved in material activities. So this is what the perception would be by the common people about the spirituality. Whereas they don't look in, they only look at the outer thing, right? So, and what is Krishna doesn't say that, but actually this is the interpretation. So, Naiva Kinchit Karot, a person in divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving, sleeping, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Actually does nothing at all means you not that you should not do anything. But this is what they want. Because even in the given some food, the feast and all that, they will still it is sin to eat such luxurious food. And they, I know their philosophy is like dry. They want to be very rigid in their, they want to follow very austerity measures and all that. Okay. So any of these activities, seeing, hearing means your elements involved is knowledge, acquiring senses, moving, talking, respiration, resting, the working senses are there, breathing, your pranas, all that. So Indriyani, there are senses and they have got. So this is what they want to control the senses. That is the perception of the impersonalist. And what does the common people think? Okay, this is what spiritual life is all about. So only people who are not successful in life and they don't have anything, they can take up this kind of activity where there is no activity to be done. They can just go to a temple and just sit there and meditate and just ring the bell and things, and they live a lazy life. That's what the common people's perception is by seeing the impersonalist. But impersonalist thinks they want to only they look at their want to be in that knowledge. Okay, saying that this is their understanding. So tektva karma phala sanga nitya tripta nirasha. So what does the Lord say? That's karma yoga activities we look in chapter 4. Versus abandoning all attachment to the results of its activities, ever satisfied and independent, he performs no fruitive action, though engaged in all kinds of undertakings. This is what karma yogi, the Lord talks about. He is karma thing, he is not attached to the results of his activities. That is karma. And he is satisfied and independent, performs no thing. Okay. So when he says he performs no activity, they don't want to get involved in it much. And such a man of understanding, that is in verse 21, acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled, gives up all sense of proprietorship over his possessions, and acts only for the bare necessities of life. So when they say that bare necessities of life, they want to do, the impersonalists only do that much for their living purpose. They don't want to get. So in fact, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was, though he had taken up sannyas and he was all the time all in Sankirtan, no? Hare Krishna Mantra, jumping, dancing and all that. The Mayavadis in the Varanasi, they were thinking how they thought the sannyasi means you should be very sober, involved in discussion of Vedanta philosophy and all that, and not should be jumping around and enjoy things. So they couldn't understand that. And finally, you know that then he understands them. So this is their dry philosophy. What happens? They don't want to get involved with their emotions. The rasa is not there. They're so dry. And things. So they only act like that because of their thing. And common people think, oh, that is the way sannyasi should be. And then in 4.22, he who is satisfied with gain, which comes of his own accord, who is free from duality and does not envy, who is steady in both success and failure, is never entangled all the performing actions. So this is what we think. So sharira kevalam karma. That means only for pasting, they will do some activity, they involve in material activities. Otherwise, they would like to be mostly involved in jnana. That is a discussion of the knowledge when going more on the jnana. Okay. Path of thing. Edracha labdvat sute santushto. Satisfied with gain. So they are in that, which comes of his own. Whereas the persons involved in the Krishna ISKCON devotees, when they think, their activities is much different. This is where the common people are devoted. So here, Krishna devotees in Krishna, what the followers Prabhupada, they were involved in in book distribution. Means they won't just be satisfied with just few books and distributing few books or anything. They'll be going on and on, want to do more and more for satisfaction of the Lord, satisfying the thing. So the endeavor is much more, and they keep doing it and doing. They're not satisfied with one little thing which they have done. That's how the movement spread so much, because they wanted to do more. They wanted to spread this philosophy. We wanted to spread Krishna consciousness. Actually, the activities involved in Krishna consciousness, as we discussed earlier, is all transcendental. So that transcendental activities will always give more happiness, and it's auspicious. Okay, so devotional service. So that there's a contradictory. So for the common people, when they look at the Mayavadis who are sober and they want to be austere and things, and here you see some Krishna conscious people, they're very enthusiastic. They go all the way out to do things. They make nice prasad, offer the things, and they offer it to the Lord and take the remnants and distribute the prasad to everyone, distribute Krishna conscious to them. And here they are very sober and they think that indulging their tongue in some nice eatables is sin. I mean, they're too kind, which you see that. So, but actually what it is, it's a misunderstanding what the Lord. And whereas Prabhupada gives a very nice explanation. He says that any activity, like Naivash Kinchit Kare, Krishna conscious person never thinks that I am doing something. Even if you ask him that, are you going to such and such a place? He will say, I do not know when I shall go. But when Krishna will ask me or allow me to go, I shall go. So everything is there in that platform. And I'm saying this from my practical experience from my Guru Maharaj. You would never say, I am going, I am doing. If Krishna decides, then I shall do it. If Krishna decides, then I shall. So this was in one of the lectures where Prabhupada is saying, this is the mentality, this is the platform which the Krishna conscious people work, which is what has been said. So so what happens, this is from karma kanda, you go to karma yogi, right? But karma yogi's activities, there could be, you can, not that people Mahavadis won't get liberation, which is karma sannyas and thing. We have to do the activity, but if you do it in the platform of Krishna consciousness, it's much easier and it is much more joyful. Okay, so this is the difference. Okay, so tattva karma pala sangam nitya tripta nirashraya. So here nirashraya says. So there, what happens? They impersonal people don't want to get into the shelter of the material energy. Okay, that's what they think. That if they want to be detached from the material, that is what their focus would be. They don't want to do much. So they don't want to get into that. That is the perception of the materials. They don't want to desire material shelter. But what does the devotees do? They consider themselves dependent on the Lord. See that, like the sunshine which is coming from the sun. So that is a connection to the sun, through the sunshine we are connecting to the sun, which is much million thing away from us. Whereas, so this material energy is also from the Lord. So we need to use everything, the material facilities and all that which is given. If you convert it to, and since they say they depend on the Lord, so they are depending on the Lord. So everything is given from him. So we are under his shelter. Whereas impersonalists want to be detached from that. So that is their philosophy, right? That's how they think. So they don't want to get it. Whereas here, devotees consider themselves dependent on the Lord. See how the verses can be misinterpreted, or the philosophy is the nirashraya. Okay? Nitya tripta nirashraya. And then we have this wonderful thing, Brahma arpanam, Brahma havir, Brahmagnav Brahmana Bhutai, Brahmaiva Tena Ganatvam, Brahma Karma Samuttam. So in 4.24, where Krishna says everything is Brahma arpanam is you do everything for the Lord, isn't it? And then Brahman, who is doing the sacrifice? It is the person who is doing the sacrifice is the thing. Then Brahma Avay. And what are the offerings you give in the fire of the sacrifice, right? So a person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities. In fact, consummation is absolute, which is offered of the same spiritual. So Brahmagnu, so everything is a the one, there are 5 elements here. One is you're doing it, Brahma Arpanam is doing, you're offering it to the Lord, and it's Brahma is the living and the one person who is doing it, and the ingredients you use for the sacrifice like ghee, but grains and all that, and fire is the energy of the Lord. And then what you get, result, and the performance is all a thing. They are absorbed. It's all for the absolute. So if they're done it, so this is what they, even impersonalists also will recite this verse while they take their food and all that, saying that everything is from the Lord and nothing, they are only soul and not the body. So that's how they perceive. But here Prabhupada writes a beautiful thing. What does he says in the purport? When everything that exists is situated in that Brahma Jyoti. But when Jyoti is covered by illusion or sense gratification, it is called material. This material veil can be removed at once by Krishna consciousness. That means you have to, the matter should be dovetailed for the cause of the absolute truth. If you use everything, whatever is there in the material thing, like now we are using this internet facility for discussing this Bhagavad Gita. So if you use everything, it's not that it's a luxury. But everything, if you doubt it for the Lord's, for the Lord, then it becomes spiritual. So you're doubting the material things for that. Even once Prabhupada was asked, I mean, a sannyasi means you should be, very austere and thing, but we see you going in cars and you have so many buses, in thing and all these facilities and a huge temple. Then he said, it's all for the Lord. It's all for the thing. Buses are used for distributing the books distribution and the temple is there for discussion about the having Krishna consciousness about Bhagavad Gita and all the Vedic scriptures, and for people to come and have discussions, and everything is doubted for activities for the Lord. So there is nothing like you are doing it for yourself, for your sense gratification. So this is how, if matter can be doubted for the cause of absolute truth, what happens? The matter regains its spiritual quality. Because the material energy has come from the Lord, right? And when you use it for the Lord's service, that regains its spiritual quality. Krishna consciousness is the process of converting the illusory consciousness into Brahman. So this is how the perspective. Gata sangasya mukadasya jnanasvatita chetasa. So here, what is the Mayavada thing? They are work of a man who's unattached to the modes of material nature and is fully situated in transcendental knowledge. What is the transcendental knowledge? That I am the soul and not the body. So they are trying to control the senses, not to get attached to these material things, and they want to fully situate themselves in transcendental knowledge. They will merge entirely into transcendence. So this is their way of practicing spiritual, right? That's what the Lord says here. So, etada samidogde basma, what happens when you are transcendent in this knowledge? As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. So, it's not that it cannot be done, but when you are a karma yogi, then you are jnana yogi. That is, you are trying to cultivate your jnana. This is what happens. And that is just not being, it's not enough just to know this is spirit, I am the spirit and not the body, but we have to act on it also. You need to work, only then you can take. So this is something which jnana is also, now fire of knowledge burns to reactions, all reactions. So the absolute truth covered by Maya is called matter. Matter, doubtful for the cause of absolute truth, regains its spiritual quantity. Krishna consciousness is the process of converting the illusionary consciousness into supreme. So if you understand the way the Prabhupada has written the purport, you can understand the essence, how it is it's not how he is defeating the Mayavadi's philosophy, how we have to practice these things in our lifestyle. Okay. So, the more the activities of the material world are performed in Krishna consciousness or for Vishnu alone, the more the atmosphere becomes spiritualized by complete absorption. Okay, so let's read the 5.2 verse again and purport. Okay. Anybody wants to recite? Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Hare Krishna. Swati Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, Hare Krishna. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Sannyasah karma yogascha निश्रये स करावुभौ तयोस्तु कर्म संन्यासात् कर्मयोगो विशिष्यते. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. The personality of Godhead replied, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation of work. Okay. So would anybody likes to read the purport? Hare Krishna. Volunteer. Fruitive activities. Hare Krishna. Somebody can. Yes, Prabhuji.
I'll read Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Go ahead.
Purport.
Fruitive activities.
Yeah, fruitive activities seeking sense gratification are cause for material bondage. As long as one is engaged in activities aimed at improving the standard of bodily comfort, one is sure to transmigrate to different types of bodies, thereby continuing material bondage perpetually. Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5 to 6 confirms this as follows. Shall I read, Mataji?
Yes, ma'am. If you can read. Nunam pramatta kurute vikarma yat indriya prityaya appannoti na sadhu manyayata atmanoyam asan api klesha dasta dehaha.
Yeah.
Want to Prabhu? You want to read?
Yes, yes, Mataji. Prabhavas tavad abodh jato yavan na jigyasa atma tattvam yavat kriyas tavad idam manovat कर्मात्मकम येन शरीर बंधा एवं मनः कर्म वासम प्रयुक्ते अविद्यात्मने उपाधे मने पितिर्ना यावन मयि वासुदेवे नामुच्यते देह योगेन तावत. People are mad after sense gratification and they do not know that this present body, which is full of miseries, is a result of one's fruitive activities in the past. Although this body is temporary, it is always giving one trouble in many ways. Therefore, to act for sense gratification is not good. One is considered to be a failure in life as long as he makes no inquiry about his real identity. As long as he does not know his real identity, he has to work for fruitive results for sense gratification. And as long as one is engrossed in consciousness of sense gratification, one has to transmigrate from one body to another. Although the mind may be engrossed in fruitive activities and influenced by ignorance, one must develop a love for devotional service to Vasudeva. Only then can one have the opportunity to get out of the bondage of material existence.
Thank you,
Therefore,
Prabhu. Anyone else want to do? Read Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes,
Therefore,
Prabhuji.
jnana or knowledge that one is not this material body but spirit soul is not sufficient for liberation. One has to act in the status of spirit soul, otherwise, there is no escape from material bondage. Action in Krishna consciousness is not, however, action on the fruitive platform. Activities performed in full knowledge strengthen one's advancement in real knowledge. Without Krishna consciousness, mere renunciation of fruitive activities does not actually purify the heart of a conditioned soul. As long as the heart is not purified, one has to work on the fruitive platform. But action in Krishna consciousness automatically helps one escape the result of fruitive action so that one need not descend to the material platform. Therefore, action in Krishna consciousness is always superior to renunciation, which always entails a risk of falling. Renunciation without Krishna consciousness is incomplete, as is confirmed by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, first canto, second chapter, 258 shloka. प्रपञ्चिकत्या बुद्ध्या हरिसम्बन्धी वस्तुनः मुमुक्षुभिः परित्यागो वैराग्यम फाल्गु कथ्यते. When persons eager to achieve liberation renounce things related to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thinking them to be material, their renunciation is called incomplete. Renunciation is complete when it is in knowledge that everything in existence belongs to the Lord and that no one should claim proprietorship over anything. One should understand that factually nothing belongs to anyone. Then where is the question of renunciation? One who knows that everything is Krishna's property is always situated in renunciation. Since everything belongs to Krishna, everything should be employed in the service of Krishna. This perfect form of action in Krishna consciousness is far better than any amount of artificial renunciation by a sannyasi of the Mayavadi school. Hare Krishna.
So here Krishna, so this is what that when we looked at the Karma Kanda section, it was said that don't look at sense gratification, you do the yajnas and performing the yajnas and offering the thing to the demigod, sacrifice, thanking, then at least you'll be purifying your senses or you're purifying your existence, right? So we have to as long as he does not know his real identity, he'll be working for the fruitive results for sense gratification. So once we know our real identity, that is, we are the soul and not the body, but that is not sufficient. So that jnana, that knowledge is not sufficient because we have to act in that spirit. So then only you can escape the material bondage. So what is the knowledge? We have to know we are the spirit soul, okay, right? But we should also know that we have to act, we are the eternal servants of the Lord. So we have to do the devotional service. So without Krishna consciousness, mere renunciation of fruitive activities that not actually purify the heart of the conditioners. So what the Mayavadis think of just trying to detach themselves from the thing, and if they are not keeping Krishna consciousness, then does not purify them. They are still on the fruitive platform. But what happens? Action in Krishna consciousness automatically helps one to escape the result of fruitive action. So you need not descend to the material plane. So Prabhupada writes, therefore, action in Krishna consciousness is always superior to renunciation. And there's a risk of fall. Even this is confirmed in by Srila Rupa Goswami. Not to go for vairagyam palto vairagyam. Okay. Renounce things related to thing of God, thinking them to be material. Their renunciation is incomplete. Okay. It is complete only when we realize that everything is belonging to the Lord. That's what he says. No, everything belongs to the Lord. And there's nothing we have manufactured. Even to set up a factory, every day integrants, like the minerals, sulfur, whatever it is we need, the steel, everything the Lord has provided. Only then you can set a factory or anything else. All the facilities we have for existence, everything it comes. So we cannot claim proprietorship of anything. Once you understand that nothing belongs to anyone, then there is the question of renunciation. What are you trying to renounce? So everything is Krishna conscious. So this is the true knowledge. So if you are in that, that is the perfect form of action in Krishna consciousness. It's far better than any artificial renunciation by sannyasi of the Mayavad school. So this is what is the significance. So when the Falgu and Yukta Vairagya. So Prabhupada says, Jnana or knowledge that one is not this material, what is not sufficient. He has to act in the status of spirit. And he has given us how to do it. Activities performed in full knowledge, what does it do? It strengthens one's advancement in real knowledge. Tattvavid. Okay. One should understand that factually nothing belongs to anyone, and there is a question of renunciation. One who knows that everything is Krishna's property is always situated in renunciation. Since that means you have to be in this consciousness. Everything belongs to Krishna, everything should be employed in the service of Krishna. This perfect form of action is far better than any amount of artificial renunciation by sannyasi Mayavadi school. So, if you do that, then what happens? You'll be filled with peace in Krishna consciousness. But one who is entangled in profit calculation for sense gratification cannot have that peace. This is the secret of Krishna consciousness. Realization there's no existence besides Krishna is the platform of peace and fearlessness. Okay, that's what Prabhupada concludes. So what we concluded in this today's thing is we first looked at the progression of the yoga ladder. From Karma Kanda, there's a gradual, if you follow the Vedic injunctions and the prescribed duties and the thing, you'll be gradually rising from the platform of Karma Kanda to Karma Yoga, performing yajnas and purifying your existence, and come to Karma Yogi. And from Karma Yogi, you come to Jnana Yogi. That is where you understand the real knowledge, Tattvavid, that the Lord is everything, He is the proprietor, Bhogeshwar. So once you come into and you be in that, then you do all your activities dovetailing towards the Lord. So then from Jnana Yogi, you come to Dhyana Yoga, which we'll see in the chapter 6 and the next class. And then you rise to Bhakti Yoga. And we also looked at the misunderstanding of the verses, how Mayavadis and how the misunderstanding is there by the common people when they look at the Mayavadis and they look at the devotees in Krishna consciousness. Okay. So we looked at that, and then also we finally will conclude. Okay. So this is in conclusion, we did that, and what else we looked at? So in this lesson, we were analyzing the progression of the chapters 3 to 6 and how this reflects the perspective rungs of the yoga ladder, which we will learn. And also we'll see more on Dhyana Yoga and all that in the next. And we were discussing how by performing Vedic ritual straightness, one can be gradually elevated from the platform of karmic kanda to the platform of Dhyana. And also we looked at inappropriate understanding of verses in 4th and 5th chapters, where the impersonals are rejecting the material energy compared to Prabhupada's description of the Vaishnava's approach, wherein the material energy is incorporated in the service of the Lord. So that misunderstanding we looked at. And in that way, the whole of the environment becomes spiritualized. And the sublime teachings of Krishna consciousness as imparted to us by our founder Acharya Prabhupada to inspire the whole world to take the spiritual life in a very practical and convenient way. So the next lesson, we will carry on with the analysis of the Yoga Ladder, and we looked at the beginning of 6th chapter also. So this, I think, it's like, you need to look at this concept much more deeply and to think about it. I mean, contemplate of what the Lord Prabhupada is trying to tell us and what is the common, because when we try to preach to the others, we should understand how the misunderstanding takes place and what is the perception by the common people and how we have to think. Okay. So with this, we'll close, and if you have any questions, we will take it up. Okay.